Hello, the Worcester Art Museum is so pleased to be able to present this virtual highlights tour of our Greek and Roman collections for your French Civilization class at Worcester State. I'm Aileen Novick, the Manager of Public and Education Programs, and I will be narrating the tour for you. If you're in Worcester, the museum is a great place to visit. As Worcester State is an institutional member, students and faculty receive free admission. Here you see our Renaissance Court on the left and a European Paintings Gallery on the right. We'll be reopening to the public October 7th. Just make sure you reserve your tickets ahead at our website, worcesterart.org. When doing research for a class, our Worcester Art e-Museum site, seen here, is a great way to digitally access our collection. You can search by category, artist, title, accession number, type of art, like sculpture, painting, etc. So take a look and make sure you visit the site. We'll be starting our tour with an object from the late 500s BCE. Ancient Greek warriors often dedicated small bronze figurines at sanctuaries in southern Greece as symbols of gratitude for good fortune in battle. This solid cast hoplite or infantryman has characteristics of Spartan workshop of the late 6th century BC. It was allegedly found at Sparta. Its attacking pose is typical of a soldier striding forward with his right arm raised. The spear and shield he once carried are now lost. His close-fitting cuirass or breastplate is incised with spirals that echo the forms beneath. To protect his shins, the warrior is equipped with greaves. A Corinthian-style helmet exposes the figure's beard, while his long hair is worn long and falling over his shoulders in typical Spartan fashion. This monumental head, possibly Aphrodite, was originally painted and belonged to an over-life-size statue of a votive figure or deity from Cyprus. While its exact function is unknown, the statue probably stood in a sanctuary. The combination of styles here reflects the tumultuous history of Cyprus during the first millennium BC. This eastern Mediterranean island was ruled by Assyria and Egypt, and in the mid-6th century, it developed strong ties with eastern Greece while both were part of the Persian Empire. On the sculpture, you see a sensitively modeled oval face with almond eyes, high cheekbones, and smile that indicate an affinity with art from eastern Greece and the Archaic period. On the headdress, companions of the Greek wine god Dionysus dance through a colonnade topped with rosettes. During the later 5th century BC, Athens was embroiled in a long and bitter civil war. Weary of fightings, the people of Athens increasingly rejected depictions of battle scenes on pottery in favor of peaceful motifs of heavenly gardens and young, playful divinities. Most popular was Aphrodite, goddess of love and beauty. Very common at this time were small containers for perfume and cosmetics like this pyxis. On the lid of this pyxis are depicted two pairs of playful erotists, the companions of Aphrodite at play. One pair holds roosters in preparation for a fight, while the other displays a leashed rabbit, symbol of erotic love, to a potential lover. Around the body are 3 vignettes of an aristocratic woman at leisure in her home with a maidservant. The so-called Eritrea painter was an accomplished artist whose interest centered on charming, intimate scenes, displaying the life and pastimes of the rich. Here we see the 5th Roman Emperor Nero, stepson and heir of the Emperor Claudius. He became infamous for his debaucheries and extravagances, and there was evidence that now is seen as doubtful of his burning Rome and his persecution of Christians. He extended the boundaries of the Roman Empire and was known as a great lover of the arts. Throughout much of the 1930s, the Worcester Art Museum joined with 3 other institutions in excavating Antioch, one of the 4 great cities of the late Roman Empire. Antioch had prospered under Julius Caesar and Augustus and grown into a cultural and political center, flourishing until an earthquake devastated the city in 526 AD. Among the greatest treasures unearthed at Antioch were numerous mosaics from public and private buildings. This pavement was one of 5 that decorated the floor of a dining room of an elegant villa from the first Roman period of the city. It depicts a mythical drinking contest with Dionysus, the god of wine, reclining at the center. Crowned with leaves in his curls, he displays the empty cup that he has drunk dry. A ruddy Heracles is on his knees, challenging Dionysus. Silenus on one side and Amplius on the other give the victory to the god, while a slave girl at the left plays the double flute. In Greek and Roman mythology, Hygiena was the goddess or personification of health, cleanliness, and hygiene. Her grandfather was Apollo, one of the most important gods, said to have the powers of healing, music, dance, and more. Her father was Asclepius, the god of medicine. Hygiena had 4 sisters with whom she practiced the arts of her father and grandfather. As you can see, this Hygiena cannot be a model for hand washing today. Her head, both arms below the elbows, and most of a serpent she carried are missing. Parts of the serpent, the symbol of health and healing, may still be seen on the preserved portion of the right forearm and below the left breast. This sculpture was carved out of a warm pinkish marble. Originally, the statue was likely polychromed, decorated in a variety of colors. This is an example of a mummy portrait. These have become quite a topic of scholarship today. They're naturalistic painted portraits that were done on wooden boards and were attached to upper-class mummies from Roman Egypt. They belong to the tradition of panel painting, which is one of the most highly regarded forms of art in the classical world. This over life-size figure exemplifies the elaborate relief sculptures that marked graves in Athenian cemeteries from the 3rd quarter of the 5th century until about the late 4th century BC. Such sculptures were typically set within a rectangular architectural frame with sides supporting a cornice and pediment. They usually showed the deceased accompanied by a member of the family, a slave, or a prized possession. Often 2 figures are present, one standing and one seated. The latter is probably representing the dead individual. In the present example, a fragment of a larger stele, an old man leans heavily on his staff while gazing downward, presumably at the deceased, now missing person. Carved almost in the round, this full figure is rendered naturalistically with veined hands indicative of old age. His deep-set eyes and a furrowed brow express the pathos of loss and quiet longing characteristic of 4th century style. During the reign of the Tetrarchs, rule over the Roman Empire was divided among 4 men, each responsible for different regions. Most of the surviving portraits of them are carved in porphyry, a hard, dark stone that is difficult to work. The resulting sculptures were often block-like in style, far removed from physical likeness. This portrait is thought to represent Diocletian, one of the Tetrarchs who ruled the region from Thrace to Egypt for more than 20 years. Carved in basalt, a material similar to porphyry, the forceful cubic head shows characteristics of the emperor: furrowed brow, lined forehead, and expressive enlarged eyes, conveying tension and concern. The downward curve of the mouth suggests a tough and resolute man whose advancing age is apparent in his sunken cheeks and receding hairline. This mosaic graces the Worcester Art Museum's Renaissance court. The pavement was excavated from a villa at Daphne, a resort in the hills above ancient Antioch. It depicts the hunting of dangerous game, an aristocratic pastime represented in mosaics and other media throughout the Roman world, and common at Antioch. At the center stands a hunter ringed by animals in a pattern much like that of an oriental carpet. Hunters on foot and horseback attack a variety of animals with sword, spear, and bow and arrow. Situated near the eastern coast of the Mediterranean Sea, the great city of Antioch became a confluence for cultural influences from the Western Greco-Roman traditions as well as Eastern Persian. While the dress style in this work is that of Hellenistic Greece, the ornamental use of nature and the figure-stiff poses derive from the art of ancient Parthia, now northern Iran. The animals, portrayed more naturalistically than the human figures, are used to fill compositional voids in a decorative fashion, resulting in this flat, two-dimensional creation characteristic of Antioch. Thank you for joining us on this virtual tour. We will next be sending in a video to present French civilization through works at the Worcester Art Museum. Take care.